Good evening. Here a little bit late at work tonight, and I wanted to talk with you about one of the news articles that came in, and that is that we've got a bunch of outbreaks, obviously, like most of the United States, on COVID. And in fact, in the Greeley Tribune, they list a lot of places which unfortunately have been subject to outbreaks. Places like King Soopers, JBS again, several nursing homes, even a sorority. And obviously all of us are concerned. We're trying to minimize our risk and the risk to our loved ones. But today I wanted to talk about what happens if you've tested positive for COVID, or if you feel like you're starting to come down, you find out that you're testing positive for COVID, and you've been working, particularly at any of these places that have experienced recent outbreaks. What should you do? What are your rights? Is it work-related? Will it be automatically covered? And the answer is no. It will not be automatically covered. The insurance company will more likely than not deny the claim, say, oh no, there's no way you cut it at work. And so if you think that you've contracted COVID and it's due to your employment, I want to give you 4 things that you need to do in order to start establishing some evidence that may or may not support that it is work-related. Number 1, get a list of all the other your fellow coworkers, your fellow employees who have also come down with symptoms, tested positive at the same time frame you have. This is almost universally true in almost all the cases that I have where I have injured workers talking to me about a occupational disease due to an exposure at work. Think of, like, for example, mold, right? And you say, oh my God, there's mold exposure and now I'm sick. My number 1 question, and frankly the number 1 question on almost everybody's lips, is going to be, okay, who were you working with? What was the room like, etc.? And did anyone else come down with the same problem? If you are working in a room or a station or a unit and all of a sudden multiple people come down with COVID along with you, it becomes very, very hard to deny that you also didn't come down with COVID at the same location, same time. So that's number 1. Number 1 is start finding out which coworkers, co-employees that worked with you also came down at the same time. Number 2, you got to make a very quick list of everywhere you've been and how long you spent there in the last 2 to 3 weeks before you came down with symptoms. Again, if the insurance companies and the employers have a duty to investigate whether or not you came in contact with COVID at work, if it was more likely than not, they're going to want to know where you went, did you go to the raging parties, or, were you hanging out in bars, etc., with lots of different people, etc., because that's going to be an alternative theory for them. So that's very important. Number 3, you need to keep track of all your medical expenses, out-of-pocket expenses, etc. Number 4 is you need to watch if you're losing time from work, because if you're losing time from work, it may be covered under workers' compensation. Okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you about COVID and whether or not it's work-related and whether or not it's even worth pursuing, because oftentimes, thank God, frankly, it's not worth pursuing, okay? Because for most people, thank God, who get it, a lot do not become symptomatic. A number of them who do become symptomatic recover in about a week to 2 weeks, and then they're done. And they were able to get all of that time paid for under some, federal COVID unemployment benefit, etc. Their medical care might get covered entirely due to federal or state programs covering COVID, health insurance, etc. And it may be that even if you catch COVID and you recover, that you find that it's just not worth pursuing it as a workers' compensation claim. Great, no problem. Would love nothing more for you not to have a work injury. On the other hand, if you are off work for an extended periods of time, so we have people who have never recovered, we have people who, God forbid, have passed away due to COVID, then it is something that you're going to want to consider your workers' compensation rights. That's where we come in, because we help people who have on-the-job injuries or on-the-job exposures, and we would be happy to talk with you. Talking with us is pleasant, confidential, complimentary, and we would be happy to orient you on your rights so that you can make informed decisions. As always, if you or anyone you know has been injured on the job, let them know there's a law firm in Colorado that helps injured workers. We've been doing it for now 25 years, and we would love to help you or your loved ones. And with that, thank you for spending part of your evening with me, and we'll see you later. Bye.